equated. Can you live with yourself if another plane falls out of the sky and more people needlessly die because we were short of air traffic controllers? I know Senator from Alaska has a couple more comments, then we'll turn it over to the Senator from Florida.
Well, I just want to thank Senator Cruz, Senator Johnson, for coming to the floor and making this very strong case. And it's about safety, and it's about the American way. There's nothing more American than paying people for the work that they do. We all know that. Again, Senator Johnson's bill is a simple bill. It's about paying the federal workers who are required to work to keep us safe. All these jobs we're talking about are jobs that keep the American people safe. Of course, the military is a big part of this bill. They epitomize the federal workers who are keeping us safe. And they epitomize courage. So do many of our federal workers as well. So I hope my colleagues on the other side of the aisle just show a little bit of the courage that our military displays every day all over the world. Just a tiny bit of that courage. Again, to my Democratic colleagues, we know you're getting a lot of pressure from your leadership. Senator Cruz did a great job of explaining the origins of that. By the way, it has nothing to do with health care, it has nothing to do with anything. It has everything to do with appeasing the far left of the Democratic Party, which is rising. So we get that you're under pressure. But you all know that voting for this bill is the right thing to do. I know my colleagues on the other side of the aisle. They're good people. As Senator Johnson just said, have a little bit of conscience and a little bit of courage, the kind of courage that our military displays every day, and vote for the Shutdown Fairness Act right now. Every one of you knows it's the right thing to do, and I hope you do it.
I want to thank the Senator from Alaska. Yield now to the Senator from Florida.
The Senator from Florida.
Right. So, Mr. President, first thing I want to do, I want to thank all the senators that are speaking tonight. I can't imagine voting not to pay somebody. You know, in my state, here's what's happening. We have people that are not getting food. At church on Sunday, the pastor asked if we would actually bring in a whole bunch of food because they knew because of what the Democrats were doing, people would not get their food stamps. So all the food banks, they needed way more food. I was talking to a reporter today in Tampa, and he said the line is unbelievable at one of the food banks he was at in Tampa today. And when I think about these people that are not getting their food stamps, I think of my mom. So my mom was a mom of 5 kids. So we lived in public housing. I never met my dad, and she had to go to farm-to-market stores and ask for food. She never got food stamps, but she had to go ask for food. So just think about what's going on around our country. There's people right now worrying about if they're going to feed a 2-year-old little kid. Can you just imagine what that mom's doing? I mean, I just can't imagine how anybody ever could vote to shut down the food stamp program to not feed kids. Then let's think about all these people not getting paid. So I'll give you my experience. When I was 19 years old, I got married. I was an E2 in the Navy, and I was making $334 a month. So that same person today, and my wife and I, she was making $75 a week as a legal secretary. So those people, if something like that, I didn't have $25 in the bank. They wouldn't have said, oh, it's okay not to pay the rent. Any costs we had, no one would have said, oh, don't worry, you don't have to pay it now. And so that's what's going on with our military. They have mortgages, their kids have school costs, their kids want to play sports, they might have medical bills. And my Democrat colleagues are saying they don't care. I mean, it's just did they ever live that life? Did they ever live the life that they are worrying paycheck to paycheck how they're going to pay for food, for the rent, for a mortgage? Do you think all the lenders are going to say, "Oh yeah, we know the government shut down, so you don't have to pay your mortgage"? So I just don't know how you could not have a heart to open up government. I mean, we can have a policy disagreement every day, and we should. But to not make sure people get their food stamps, not make sure that people are showing up today, as Senator Cruz said, trying to keep us safe in the skies, our military that's trying to keep our freedoms, and the Democrats don't care if they get paid or not. Now let's think about it. Since I got up here, this is my 7th year, I've had a bill that says no budget, no pay. Right? The Democrats have blocked it, including yesterday, because they want to get paid even though they are making the decision that other people don't get a paycheck. They're not willing to give up any of their pay because, like one of them said, he's a mortgage. Why would he be expected to give up his pay? Well, they're doing it every day to all of our federal workers. I just can't imagine doing that. So what I'd say to my Democrat colleagues, open the government. Pay our workers. Make sure people get food, have food on the table. Don't ever, ever, ever in your wildest dreams do that to people in our country. It's wrong to do what you're doing. Senator Schumer came out and said he had a proposal. It's a joke. It's a complete joke. And I'll tell you why. Let's think about what they want to do. For us to be able to make sure that we start paying people, they get food stamps, they want to make sure insurance companies continue to get rich. So their proposal doesn't do anything. So right now, people don't lose their Obamacare subsidies. It's people that make over 400%, that's over probably $128,000, $130,000 a year, get subsidies for their health care. You could be a millionaire. You get a subsidy. So you say he wants to make sure millionaires get a subsidy for people to possibly get any food. Then he knows that Republicans are not going to continue to support a program that pays health care for illegals. That's wrong. Has taxpayer paying for abortion. That's wrong. Has taxpayers paying for trans surgery. That's wrong. Making sure there's about supposedly 4 to 5 million people don't even know they have these subsidies because it's just going directly to an insurance company with no responsibility by a consumer. All you have to do to sign somebody up is know their name, their birth date, their address, sign them up, insurance companies get all the money. Why would we ever support something like that? So I want to thank my colleagues. I can't imagine. It's heartless to not make sure people have food. It's heartless to make sure people don't have money if they're working. And so if the Democrats vote against Senator Johnson's simple bill to pay people that are busting their butt to keep our freedoms, keep us safe, do all these things, I don't know how you can go home and feel good about what you're doing. I yield my time.
I want to thank the senator from Florida. I see the senator from Michigan. I believe he wants to speak to this bill. We will have the last word, but if he wants to get ready, I don't know.
Let the chair. I'll recognize the senator from Michigan, and then we can go back to the senator from Nebraska.
Thank you, Mr. President. Well, let me first say that there's something that we all agree on, Democrats and Republicans here in this chamber, is that we want federal employees to be paid. It's simply unacceptable that they have to work and come to work every day, do their job, and not get paid. That's why we got to end the shutdown as quickly as possible. We're focused on doing that. But that's not really exactly the total story behind the Johnson bill. I have legislation to pay federal employees now. We could vote on that now. I offered it in a UC request from my colleague from Wisconsin and said, we have a bill to pay all federal employees right now. No strings attached, no language that gives the president more power, more flexibility to do things that we should not want him to do. But my Republican colleagues don't want to have that bill. Senator Van Hollen, another colleague of mine, has a bill to pay it. It has complete support of Democrats. Let's pay them. We have two bills that if we put on the floor right now, we could pass. If my Republican friends really want to do it, we could pass it with 100 votes. And I'm happy to, it's my bill, but any of you can sign it. I offered it to my colleague from Wisconsin. It could be your bill. Give it. I don't need any authorship of it, but it's a bill that does exactly what my colleagues across the aisle are saying, just pay federal employees. That's what it would do, and yet that's rejected. So why? Well, there's a little bit more in this bill. In fact, the Johnson bill before us actually creates an unlimited and permanent slush fund for President Trump to use. You're not going to get support here from us to transfer what should be congressional power to be able to determine when we want money spent, it actually gets spent the way it should be. It's not about passing a slush fund to the president. The president could justify the transfer of this money elsewhere. This is something clearly the administration wants because it's going to give the White House more power. The bill adds presidential authority by omits the regular safeguards that we include in normal funding bills to ensure that money actually goes where Congress intends. Now, we've been seeing a lot of that. The president basically is just thumbing his nose at Congress every day. Unfortunately, my Republican colleagues say, well, that's okay. If the president doesn't want to listen to the Congress, that's okay with them. We are a co-equal branch of government. We're elected by the people back home to represent our people as senators. We're not here just to rubber stamp a president. I know a lot of my colleagues on the Republican side of the aisle, I'm surprised because a lot of really great people that I have a lot of respect for, and yet we see the president constantly run over Congress, and it's crickets on the other side. No pushback from my Republican colleagues, either here in the Senate or in the House. There's actually, in this bill, there's no explicit guarantee or requirement to actually pay out this money. The administration could sit on this appropriation. We're just blank check appropriation for employees, but the administration can just sit on it for some, or those particular programs they don't like. That's why in a normal appropriations bill, we put in language to prevent that. Now, granted, the president has been ignoring Congress, but at least we put it. We're saying these are the rules. Congress has the power of the purse. It's Article 1 of the Constitution. And yet a lot of my colleagues don't seem to take that to heart. So most appropriations bills, including the current House continuing resolution proposal, actually includes restrictions on how funding should be used. The Johnson bill includes no restrictions. And we know that Trump has shown that he will abuse the budget process in very novel ways. He has said that he will refuse to pay back pay to workers even when Congress has explicitly said it. This bill hopefully does address that. He's transferred money illegally to pay for his political priorities, and he impounds money whenever he finds any kind of wiggle room to do that. So in a sense, this bill is a Trojan horse. It's there to say we're going to help federal employees, but it's really continued power for the president. I've heard my colleagues say that the federal employees are being used as pawns. That's what this bill does. It's using federal employees as pawns to give the OMB and the president a whole lot more power to use a slush fund of money in any way he chooses. We know the OMB director, Russ Vought, likes this bill. We know what Russ Vought's about. In fact, I think there was a leaked speech that Russ Vought had. We mentioned this in the committee, and my colleagues, I appreciate them saying how wonderful federal workers are. But this is what the OMB director, who says this is really a good bill, the Johnson bill is a really good bill. He said, we want the bureaucrats to be trauma. They have to be affected by trauma. When they wake up in the morning, we want them to not want to go to work because they are increasingly viewed as the villains. We want to put them in trauma. I hope my Republican colleagues called out Mr. Vought when he said that, because you care so much about about our employees. I appreciate that. But when folks in the administration say things like this, please say that is wrong, that we really do care about you. Not when you're trying to put a bill forward that's going to give the president an unlimited slush fund. Let's be real. If you want to pay employees, which I hope you do, if you want to move forward, then take a bill that we know has the kind of guardrails that our appropriation bills normally do to make sure the money is actually spent as we intend in Congress, which is the way it's supposed to work under Article 1 of the Constitution. I still believe in the Constitution. I still believe that we are a co-equal branch of government. We are not simply a rubber stamp for the president. And if we don't change that way, that's how you lose the checks and balances that our founders cared so deeply about. You know, as our founders were debating the Constitution, they didn't trust any of us. They knew, they're politicians too. They knew you can't trust anybody. So they figure we're going to have three branches. We're going to have the judiciary check the Congress and the president. The Congress will check the presidential power. And Article 1 is the Congress. They thought the Congress was the most important one. But they kind of assumed that the Congress would actually exercise its power and check presidential power, not just hand more to them with a smile and then use false pretexts in order to give that money. So that's what this bill is about. And, you know, I've tried to work with Senator Johnson. I will always want to work with him. We've worked on a number of bills together. We have language. Again, the bills that we have that I've introduced, which is the Military and Federal Employees Protection Act, it's a straight, clean bill. Talk about union support. Every union has supported my legislation. Every union has supported Senator Van Hollen's, and we're now getting unions. Unions are starting to read the fine print on this bill right now. So we have AFSCME that's now come out against it. We got the SEIU that has just come out against it. We have the AFL-CIO that has just come out against it. We have the IFPTE that just coming out. And our union friends are going to read the language of this bill and they're going to like, oh, we should have read the fine print. Like, yes, it's really important to read the fine print. So we can't support this bill. We can support a bill that pays all of our employees, but it's got to be one that has the types of protections that we have in every other appropriations bill that we try to pass out of this body. So I'm going to oppose this, but hopefully we can find a way to work together. We have two bills ready to go we can pass today, but with this bill, we are going to object to this one.
Mr. President. Mr. President.
Is the senator from Wisconsin?
Thank you, Mr. President. I'm not quite sure what planet the senator from Michigan comes from, but here in planet Earth, when you read the actual language of the bill, none of these FANA provisions exist in there. But I will go through those point by point before we call for the final vote. Right now, I think Senator from Nebraska has a few points he wants to make.
Senator from Nebraska.
Right. Thank you, Mr. President. Earlier today, we heard about an offer from the minority leader. It shows just how unserious he and the Democrats are. That offer is full of horse hockey. It has things in it that Republicans cannot accept, and he knows it. And my colleague from Michigan, Democrat from Michigan, was just talking about power, because this is what it's about. He mentioned power. A number of other folks have talked about leverage. They need to have this shutdown for leverage. A number of Democrats have said this. But what I'm here today is to talk about people, not leverage, not power, people, air traffic controllers. These are letters that I have received from air traffic controllers, handwritten letters that are talking about what they are going through right now because of the minority leader's shutdown. Let me just read you some of these. My wife suffers from a chronic autoimmune disease that without her medication would cripple her. Our monthly copay for her specialty medication is $2,800 a month. We have less than 2 weeks before her next round of medication is due. Our situation is not sustainable, even with pulling money from our savings. That from one of our air traffic controllers in Nebraska. Here's another one. Each shutdown gets harder than the last. The mental stress of the unknown gets harder each time. With my growing family and medical bills For my family, it gets harder every time. Both my children have neurological disorders that require constant monitoring and medical care. I take pride in my job and the service we provide here at Omaha Approach Control. As a patriot and a veteran, I take my federal oath seriously. I will always continue to do my job and keep the skies safe and expeditious. Or here's another one. Myself and my family, to include my 3-year-old daughter, are struggling to make ends meet. I now have to decide between putting food on the table, paying my mortgage, paying my car note, and many other things I need to survive. Are the Democrats deaf? Do they not hear from the people that they're putting in these situations? This is their shutdown. This is their Biden budget they're not voting for. They voted for this 4 times over the last 19 months, and now they won't because their far left wing tells them not to. We have patriots here who are suffering. Why don't they show some of the courage that these people are and stand up to their far left wing and vote for this bill so that at least the people who are working can get paid? Is that so much to ask? That we pay the people who are actually trying to keep the skies safe? The Democrat staffer was earlier quoted as saying, we're going to do this till planes start falling from the sky. Well, folks, we already heard that the FAA is going to cut back 10% this week on the number of flights because of safety concerns. But it's the people that are the air traffic controllers and our law enforcement and everybody else who is working in a federal job that is not getting paid are paying the price for the minority leader shutdown. Thank you, Mr. President. You yield to my colleague from Wisconsin.
Senator from Wisconsin.
And I appreciate the comments from Senator from Nebraska. I think the senator from Utah would also like to speak to the bill.
Mr. President, I want to commend my friend and colleague, the senator from Wisconsin, for his outstanding work on this bill, the Shutdown Fairness Act. Senator Johnson has seized on something very important here. We're surrounded by people in this very building and throughout the United States and across the globe, people who are faithfully, valiantly working for the United States government. Now, some of them are staffers in this very room, not being paid. Some of them are the police officers we greeted on our way in who are keeping the Capitol Hill complex safe. Some of them are soldiers, sailors, airmen, Marines, guardsmen all over the world who are serving the United States government at risk of life and limb to keep us safe. And there are countless others in different occupations who are not being paid. Why? Well, they're not being paid because our friends on the other side of the aisle are wanting to expand government yet again. They may think that this is the right message, that this is a winning message. This is not. It's not the right message. It's not a winning message, even for them, because it highlights something.
Feel the cleaning power of Listerine. You can't always see plaque, but it's there. Listerine has 5 times greater plaque reduction than brushing and flossing alone. For a cleaner mouth, complete the clean with Listerine.
Premiums have skyrocketed. Coverage has diminished. Quality has completely tanked as a result. They know this. They understand this. They see premiums continuing to increase year after year after year. And so what do they want to do with it? Well, they want to spend a lot more money moving forward. Money at a time when the U.S. government is already $38 trillion in debt. Money to hide, to conceal what it is that Obamacare is doing to the American people, when in fact, What Obamacare has done is diminished the health care options that the American people have. It used to be that you could negotiate with a health insurance company and buy a health insurance policy. But Obamacare, in many ways, made what was once health insurance illegal. We need to make health insurance legal again. We need to allow a willing customer to pay a willing insurer for a health insurance policy, rather than an Obamacare health plan, which very often, through its Byzantine labyrinth of federal regulations, just adds to the cost and adds to the profits, the bottom line of these huge healthcare companies. So yeah, they want to take this to extort the American people in their position of vulnerability at a time when we're told planes may start falling from the sky, at a time when people's airplane tickets are being rendered valueless because a lot of these flights are not going to be able to be made, and all kinds of other problems are happening, while at the same time, our federal workforce is not being paid. These are not the right people to punish for the failures of Obamacare. Don't let them carry that burden. Don't make them do it. They didn't do this to the American people. Obamacare did. Let's fix Obamacare. Let's make it legal again to have health insurance, actual health insurance, not that sort of bastardized form of health insurance that emerged from Obamacare's endless regulations that result in diminished quality, lower coverage, and endlessly higher premiums. Mr. President, this shutdown has gone on long enough. This shutdown should come to an end, and it should come to an end by the very generous offer made by Republicans time and time and time again to continue at spending levels that until just months ago were the Democrats' own spending levels. That's not enough for them. We've got to end the madness and end the shutdown. At the very least, even if we're not to end the shutdown, we should pass Senator Johnson's bill. We should do that tonight. We should do it right now. Because regardless of what you think we ought to do with Obamacare or any other aspect of government, these workers who have now gone for some time without a paycheck, they should not be required to make this sacrifice, especially when you consider what it's for. Hiding the true cost of Obamacare. That is shameful. Again, I thank and I commend Senator Johnson and his team for putting together this legislation. I'm proud to support it. I wholeheartedly endorse it, and I plead with my colleagues to vote for it, and let's get these workers paid. They deserve nothing less. Thank you.
And I want to thank the senator from Utah for his remarks.
The senator from Wisconsin.
Mr. President, I don't want to spend all the time refuting all the misrepresentations from the senator from Michigan in terms of what phantom provisions he claims are in my bill. There's no slush fund. It is completely silent on presidential authority. I know some people want to reduce authority, but that's a bill that won't be signed. If you want to pay the federal workers, if you want to stop punishing them for our dysfunction, if you want to stop using them as pawns in this political game, that's a demand you have to drop. The money appropriated in this bill will go to pay workers. That also was a false argument. But if you're not quite satisfied with the language, it's been out there and we've been trying to work and get feedback for 2 weeks, and we've gotten excellent feedback from leadership, from discussions on both sides of the aisle, from OMB, trying to perfect this thing. The solution is get on the bill. Get on the bill and offer amendment. Keep talking to us. Don't close it down. Now, we heard from a number of our Republican colleagues. We heard from Senator from Michigan. There's a great deal of frustration, certainly on our side, when the other side simply won't take yes for an answer. But I came down here 2 weeks ago in as nonpartisan people ought to be paid. So the way to do that is not offer a bill on unanimous consent that It has no chance of being signed into law. The way to do that is to vote to proceed tonight to this bill. If we could iron out differences, we could yield back time and get this thing passed. The Speaker of the House said he'll already come back and pass this. So we are so close. I realize they're going to be hard partisans. I know liberal unions have now come out against this, but the bulk of the public sector unions are for it. They prefer my bill over anything else that they may also support it because this is permanent.